What's up, YouTube fam? It's your boy Matt. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell. The bell is very, very important. The bell is very important. I've been doing a little bit of research, and yeah, the bell is extremely important. The algorithm for, or not the algorithm, but when you subscribe to any number of channels, for some reason YouTube has this thing. It's almost like I picture in my mind the on-off switches of like a circuit board, and for whatever reason some channels trip, some channels don't, and all that determines whether or not you get, when you open up YouTube and your subscriptions, whether or not you see something from me or not, or from whoever else, right? Whatever people you like to follow. So this is going to be a little bit different than what I've done so far. I want to talk about one of my biggest personal interests, and part of what gave me the idea to do a video of this is the simple fact that right now I totally don't look like what I am, which is I'm a gigantic metalhead. I'm a huge metalhead. Heavy metal is a gigantic part of my life. I am now in my early 40s. I first really listened to heavy metal. My first time that I can remember consciously doing so was listening to Metallica's worst sounding record. It has some of their best songs, but the production's garbage. That's a hack take. Everybody knows this. But And Justice for All from 1987. Phenomenal song structures. Their most progressive album I think they've ever done, possibly ever. The first with Jason Newsted on bass after the tragic death of Cliff Burton and the bus accident. But that album I loved it. Still do. Dyer's Eve, if you're wondering which was my favorite track on there. Dyer's Eve is my favorite. But that was my first taste of metal, you could say. I had a lot of friends in school who were what they call heshers. I don't know if there's a term for that nowadays. Maybe they still call them heshers. Possibly. Don't know. But they would expose me to stuff, and I'll never forget this. I was like freshman year in high school, I think. Something like that. You guys can do the dates on this and see if I'm wrong about the year. But a friend of mine had a CD copy of Point Blank by the band Nailbomb, which is Max Cavalera from Sepultura's grindcore side project. It's what it sounds like, a nail bomb. You know, it's abrasive, it's frightening, and the thing about it, I remember this, is it really messed with my head. Was the cover is this woman, she looks to be, I believe she's Vietnamese, I think it's what it is, and these are like GIs, like American soldiers, and they're holding the barrel of an automatic rifle to her temple, of her head, and she's just this little old, leathery skinned kind of grandma looking lady with this incredibly deadly weapon pressed to her head, and that really messed me up. I remember I freaked out. Like I took the guy's CD and I was just staring at it. I was like, this is horrendous. Oh my God, this is so terrible. This music must be just awful. And I listened to it. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. So yeah, and like I said in a few of my previous ones, try to make this one quick. I actually am gonna make this one quick. I'm just gonna give you a quick blast of Matt's metal world. So, outfit. I'm going to do some more vlogging probably tomorrow and other times during the week, stuff with a little better atmosphere, I would say, as opposed to in a room with just dead sound. I don't know if you can hear that. It sounds dead, just flat against the walls. The acoustics in here are just not great, nor should they be. It's just a bedroom. But I just thought, let's talk about something personal, getting to know you kind of thing. In the first video, I found out for some feedback from friends that they really liked it, the Proust questionnaire, which again, I give credit to Rick MacDonald, the booktuber. For that, he did it in one of his videos, and I've since seen other YouTubers use it. It's not an icebreaker, it's like an ice pulverizer, it really gets you to open up. I was on camera and I look okay. I guess I'm comfortable, but inside I'm uncomfortable in that video a little more often than I'm comfortable admitting. But I can say that now because I'm getting better at this as you do over time. But yeah, stuff like what is your happy? Where are you most contented? What is something? I think they use the word deplore. What's a quality in yourself you deplore? And I'm like, man, these are harsh words, but then again, it's Proust, Marcel Proust. He was a brilliant writer and philosophy type, so the word deplore seems to fit someone of his stature and mind. So metal, yeah. So I first got sober in the fall of 2016, and I had almost a year sobriety before my first relapse. That's not to, because we're not going to talk about addiction a lot here like I have in other videos. It's just to give you some context, some foregrounding. So a thing for some people when they're in recovery and sobriety, they avoid doing things they used to do where they would use their substance of choice. A lot of times that's live music events. But for me, drinking and drugging was never a huge deal at shows. To be totally honest, there were quite a few shows where I was absolutely blotto, just ripped. I mean, hammered at the shows. I've got great shows in my life that I only remember like a third of the show because I was messed up. But point is, so I spent the end of 2016 and about 2/3 of 2017 sober, very sober. And I also spent much of 2017 at heavy metal concerts. And I went to most of them with a few friends of mine, really, really amazing people. Won't name on camera. I still haven't figured this out yet. If and when I'll use names other than people who aren't going to be on camera with me, which I promise you is coming. There are people who do want to be on this channel with me. I'm getting lucky to have guests. So 2016, 2017. So the shows I can remember seeing during that time period and sober at that, where I saw Periphery, and on that show, CHON and Tooth Grinder opened for them. That was a really great show. I saw Gojira, which was phenomenal. The doom band Pallbearer opened for them. Fantastic. I keep trying to remember what the third band was at that show. It was similar to Baroness, or The Sword, like one of those proto-metal bands, has that fuzzed 70s kind of vibe. But and they were good. I enjoyed them, but I can't remember the name of the damn band. If I get that back later, I'll put that in the notes for the video. But that was a really good show. I saw, believe it or not, I saw CHON, an old buddy of mine, friend of mine, is a heavy metal DJ, and he and I can just sit and talk metal for forever. But his show is like extremely heavy metal, probably nothing lighter than thrash, for the most part. So new metal wouldn't wind up on the show, but that said, he's an immense music aficionado, and we both have really eclectic tastes. So when I tell you I'm a metalhead, I am, but I also love, Steve Reich and William Basinski and Talib Kweli and Madlib. I mean, I listen to everything. Jesus, everything. Dave Brubeck, if I can find it, put that on. Whatever I listen to, because I listen to everything but country and hip hop. No, I listen to everything. I love music concrete. Love Stockhausen and all that weird stuff made with sound of like doors slamming and pieces of metal being thrown at asphalt and stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff. I love all kinds of music. So anyways, we went and saw CHON. He took me as a gift. It was like a friendship / sobriety gift. It might have been my birthday too in 2017. It was in the spring. My birthday's in April. And we saw them, and he and I are similar age, and we both liked CHON a lot early days. Like I would argue that their first two records, the self-titled and Life is Peachy, are fantastic records, and they're really good examples of when new metal works, like when it's done really well, because I think a lot of it hasn't aged well, but also didn't sound that great at the time. And then a lot of bands that started out new metal turned into something else later on. The two that come to my mind the strongest are deftones, who are their own thing. I don't even know what you even categorize them as, just other than just heavy, awesome music. Saw them live too, but I saw them in 2016 while I was still in my addiction. But I remember it quite a bit. It was a great show. Did not enjoy the opening act that I caught was Yellow Wolf. I saw Anthony Fantano diss him in a video the other night during a record review, and that made me giggle, because no disrespect, and if Mr. Yellow Wolf sees this, it's nothing personal, but that music he does, that bizarre hybrid of, like, I don't even know, like southern rock and crunk and southern bounce, and it's like you take like the worst Outcast demo and you put it in like chicken grease and deep fry it and then like run it over with a tractor, and that's what Yellow Wolf sounds like to me. Not my thing at all. And the friend I went with, the same thing. And then I'll never forget this. The two of it, we were in line to get her a drink because I wasn't drinking that night, weirdly enough. But she got a beer or something, and we're in line. And there's this young girl next to us, and the three of us we bonded basically over how much we disliked Yellow Wolf. Looked at each other like, what is this awful music? God. Not feeling it at all. Still not. I gave him a shot. I listened to it. It's the first time I ever heard him was that night in live. And then apparently he's got a pretty big following. Like he's, I've heard him name checked by like big bands and stuff, like famous bands. So, but he was nothing to me then. He's nothing to me now. Not my thing. Said the Southern rock thing, but I do enjoy some Southern rock. I'm a big fan. I like Lynyrd Skynyrd quite a bit, and I love their kind of their modern bastard stepchild, Every Time I Die, who, what are they, hardcore, Southern fried metal, who knows, but they're great live too. Every Time I Die is an awesome live show. Dillinger Escape Plan, killer. Some of the best concerts I've ever been to were Dillinger Escape Plan, in the pit, in those infamously violent pits. I had a girlfriend years back who actually I'm in contact with again as a friend. That ship has sailed. She's has a partner and they have a couple of beautiful kids together, which is great. But we were just chatting over like Facebook DM the other day about life, and we saw the Dillinger Escape Plan together once or twice. But the thing I'm going to tell you is, so there was a part in the show. If you know anything about Dillinger, let's hope they come back someday, right? Because they're on sabbatical right now. If you know anything about Dillinger, DEP shows, they're just like legendary. Just look it up on YouTube here. They're live shows. Greg the singer blows fire and indoors, and climbs on the audience and the whole band. And so this girlfriend of mine, she goes up. The pit itself is just a violent whirlpool, as it would be at all Dillinger shows. And me and her brother are in that pit, just dancing around and spinning and getting kicked and punched and punching and kicking other people. And it's a Dillinger pit. What are you gonna do? It's war in there. And she pushes her way through the crowd, past the pit, up to where the front ring edge, right, of the pit is. And there's the stage, and she gets up there, and I'll never forget this. Ben Weinman, the guitarist and half of the songwriting team of the band, along with Greg, is, so I believe, if I saw this correctly, so Liam Wilson, the bass player, is playing, and they're all just, gyrating and like spasming and jumping around on stage all crazy. And Ben cuts the back of his neck on one of the big fat tuning keys on Liam's bass guitar. Bass guitars have those really big tuning keys that like the size of a house key, and kind of look like it too. I just realized that right now. They look and kind of like funny little connection. But so he cuts the back of his neck, and I don't think it was super deep, because obviously his head didn't fall off. He wasn't paralyzed. But he just starts bleeding, and I think he was already shirtless. But sorry if I don't mean to gross you out. Maybe fast forward a minute or so. He's shirtless, and his whole back is glistening red. Like it looks like cherry, like sparkle cherry paint on a Ferrari. It's like bright candy red with fresh blood running down his back. And it's a Dillinger show, so you're just like, oh, bodily fluids, this is part of it, oh, he's blowing fire again, oh, that guy just got, he just put his elbow through that wall, this guy's unconscious, you might want to lift him up so nobody steps on his face. And but Ben jumps into I'll never forget this, he jumps into the crowd, back first, like back two, into the crowd with all this blood on him. And my girlfriend at the time was part of the people who crowd surfed him, and like, use your imagination. Yeah, I should have asked her about that. Did you get Ben's blood all over you? She didn't have blood all over her when we met up again after a few songs in the crowd. But I just remember he was covered in blood and he was crowd surfing. I was thinking, this violates every CDC law since like the 40s, But that was a hell of a show, great show. But that's the kind of thing I mean when I say I'm a metalhead. Like I come alive in a live atmosphere with metal bands, other bands I saw in that time. So Devin Townsend, not once but twice, and I think it was both times it was with DTP, the Devin Townsend Project, which was his last like official band, post Strapping Young Lad, but pre, he's just calling it now Devin Townsend or the Devin Townsend Band. Saw them twice on the Transcendence tour, several months apart. In both shows they had different openers. One of the shows, it was like a prog metal, progressive metal fans' wet dream. It was Fallujah, who are amazing. And if you're watching this, Scott Carstairs, you're awesome. You know how stoked I am that you follow me on Instagram, dude. I just think you crush it. You're one of the most amazing guitarists working today, and I love seeing videos of you just noodling around in your home. But it's just so cool that Scott Carstairs follows me. If you're not into metal, you're like, who's that? Figure it out. Look him up. He's badass. But anyways, so Scott and the guys in Fallujah played, and they just, man, I think it was The Flesh Prevails, that tour was for that record, and then they played, and after them was Between the Buried and Me. I don't need to tell you who that is. If you don't know who they are, you probably already turned this video off 2 minutes ago. They were incredible. It was for Parallax 1, because I was just watching some stuff of them on YouTube today. And I was like, what record was that? Or was it the Coma Void? It was one of those two. I remember it had like a Storm Thorgerson art cover, like a Pink Floyd cover, where there's a person wearing like a head-to-toe shroud and they're like standing in the desert. It was that record, whichever that one's called. You guys metalheads, tell me in the comments. Hey dumbass, it's blank. Coma Ecliptic, is that it? Anyway, amazing show, even though they famously don't play Alaska or Colors live anymore. But that didn't stop a bunch of drunk assholes in the audience from yelling, play Colors, play Alaska. People are so stubborn sometimes. I get it and I appreciate the enthusiasm, but it's just wasting everybody's time watching the band get frustrated because they're getting requests for stuff that they have politely and firmly stated for years they are not interested in playing live anymore, because they have a million other things since then that they want to play live. They want to progress, they don't want to stagnate. I respect that. But of course I want to hear Alaska live. Alaska is an amazing album. So yeah, that was one. Then the second time I saw Devin Townsend, it's fun thinking about this. The openers, it was two bands. I'm trying to remember what one of them was. One I definitely remember. I'll tell you about him in a second. It's not coming to me, the first one, but Thank You Scientist. That band is nuts. Highly recommend them. Imagine if like Oingo Boingo, Mr. Bungle, and Less Than Jake were thrown into like the transmogrifying machine from The Fly and then came out the other end as one band. I mean, it's just crazy. There's like rhythm and blues and funk and soul and punk and kind of thrashy, groovy metal, all this stuff, and it all works. It's weird. It's like, it's one of those bands you go, this shouldn't work, but yet it does. It works. So they were amazing. Thank You Scientist. And I was like telling people the story is when they opened, when they got up there to start their set, the lead singer, and pardon me, forgive me, I can't remember his name, but he's fantastic. He's got a really he's got a really high singing voice too for a dude. I was very impressed. The notes he could hold. He says they get up there and Devin is famous for his onstage banter. It's like legendary. There's thousands of YouTube videos of him just making up jokes or being funny or just vamping between songs. And so you're used to that at a show, but you don't usually think that an opener for Devin's going to be funny too. In this case, they were. Singer gets up there and he goes, "Good evening." I think it was in Pomona, the Glass House in Pomona, California here. And he goes, "Good evening, Pomona, California. We are Thank You Scientist. We come from New Jersey, where it smells. 1, 2, 3, 4. First song. It's a good way to get the audience on your side with a funny, weird joke. I'm surprised he didn't talk about The Sopranos or something too, right? Maybe he did, and I just don't remember. So there's a lot of shows that year. I'm not telling you all of them. I'm trying to think. I saw The Contortionist, but that was before I got clean. Saw The Contortionist, and open for them was Entheos, who are, I'm not even sure they stayed together. They're a grindcore band. Remind me a little bit of Fuck the Facts, a little bit. Female-fronted grindcore band. They were alright, but then Monuments played next, and Monuments are a band if you are into this kind of music, you know they can't seem to hang on to a front man for whatever weird reason. This was the tour where it was for the amanuensis. That's the name of the album. Want to know what that means? You could look it up, but I'll just tell you. It's a really old English word. I think it's Victorian. It means a person who, oh God, I'm going to screw this up. I'm tired, forgive me. Person who basically takes dictation, I think longhand, like a quill pen. And they used to do things like ratify deeds and notarize deeds and legal, forms and stuff like that. Licenses. Amanuensis. I think they hand copy manuscripts too. It's the name of that album. Very good album. I recommend it. But that was when Chris Carrabba was in the band, and he infamously that year, 2016, I think it was, he said he was taking a break from the band to work on himself. And there's been a bunch of rumors since then about what that means. The common belief is that he had problems with addiction, and I think maybe he went to a program, possibly rehab. So hey, I have something in common with the guy who was in both Periphery and Monuments and was kicked out of both bands. So yeah, don't do drugs, kids. Do whatever you. It's your life. No, don't do that. Just be safe. Be safe and responsible. Know your limits. It's a big one. I'm surprised I haven't said that yet in my videos. Know your limits. This video is probably already going on too long, but I just wanted to talk about my love of heavy metal, and just wanted to say I thought part of what made me go, yeah, let's do a video like this is I'm wearing a white undershirt. I own dozens of band shirts, most of them heavy metal bands. You've seen me wear them in other videos actually, and I have a few new ones I bought on the way specifically to wear on camera for you guys. I bought them for the channel, so I hope you appreciate that. I got a couple of I was gonna get some gore grind bands, some really extreme stuff. I got one band that's a slam band, BTBAM, if you know what that is, brutal death metal. I got them, and I got these two. I got two brutal death metal bands, and then a black metal band from the new my new wardrobe edition. So you'll get to see that in future videos. But yeah, usually I don't look the most metal. I know that, but I look a little more metal than this. And I just thought it'd be kind of funny to get on here looking like I just got done, painting a house, and tell you about my obsession with heavy metal music. Things to part with real quick. So the Bell Witch, the Doom band, that record Mirror Reaper from 2017 was my favorite record of that year. It made a lot of people's top 10 lists that year. It is, if you don't know about this, it's an album the whole album is one track, one song that's almost 80 minutes long. It's around 80 minutes long. And it's, if you're a fan of that kind of music, slow, sludgy doom music that is funereal, very specifically funeral-like, you will love that album. It's incredible. It's one of my favorite albums. It was my favorite album of that year. It's in probably my all-time top 10 favorite albums. Metal records, probably top 5 of all time. But it's an amazing record, and Bell Witch just came out with that new split EP, or split LP with Aerial Ruin. It's called Stygian Bow Volume 1. Been meaning to look into that. And you guys into that? I bet people are on here like, I thought this guy was going to talk about all this life stuff. I am. I'm doing it right now. A big part of Matt's life is heavy metal. Big part. Big part. But yeah, that album's amazing. I just wanted to talk about that real quick. And then the story behind it is so eerie. A member of the band passed away very young, and they used his pre-recorded vocals for a couple of parts on the album. So the album is about part of the band passing away and honoring him, and the record sounds like human grief turned into a metal record. It's the best way I can describe it. Incredible record. Highly recommend it. Not for everybody. You have to have some patience to enjoy it because it's very slow, as good doom metal should be. It's very slow, but it's extremely beautiful. Maybe I'll leave it on that note. What do you guys think? Anything else before I go? I'll talk about metal some more in the future. If you guys want to do that as a part of this channel, please, by all means, let me know, because I can talk metal forever. God knows. barely scratched the surface. The band Vector's coming back apparently. Dave DeSanto, not talking about whether or not he got professional help because he has a funny habit of suffocating his wife with a pillow while she's filming him with her camera, and then denying that later on, even though the entire internet saw you beating up your wife, dude. I shouldn't go there. Big fan of Vector's music. I hope Dave gets help, but they're getting back together, which that's been controversial. I've had a few fights with friends about that. I'm not going to see them if I find out he hasn't gotten some help for domestic abuse, you know. And even if he and his wife are on good terms again, I'm still uncomfortable contributing to his income, even though his band makes amazing music, right? Separate the art from the artist. Regardless, I'm still uncomfortable with the whole thing with Vector and what happened. But yeah, metal forever, absolutely. I'll make sure to wear some of my wrist cuffs and, you know, Napalm Death shirts or something next time, or sometime in the future. But yeah, thanks for hanging with me. Thanks for coming to the channel. I really appreciate it. Please spread the word about this channel if you like what I do and you think your friends or family or loved ones or partners or enemies might dig what I do. I greatly appreciate it. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.